Hello and welcome to the Your Holistic Earth podcast. I am your host for this episode, Kimberly Carson Richards, and I'm so excited that today I'm going to have this amazing conversation with Kelcey Rae. Before I introduce her, let me tell you more about this podcast. So Your Holistic Earth is the bridge that connects you to local and national experts in the field of holistic medicine and healing. On each episode, we interview experts that are going to help you have more introspection on different modalities, different ways that you can be healthier and have an increased sense of well-being. So thank you so much for being here and watching this episode. I am so excited. So let me introduce you to our guest expert on this episode. Kelcey Rae Freeman is an intuitive energy and soul mentor. She is passionate about empowering people from all walks of lives on their journey to self-discovery and healing. After years of receiving beneficial energy treatments, she became a Usui trained Reiki practitioner, and this opened her up to working with her own individual energy field, thus becoming a catalyst for her transformation. She's able to use her intuitive abilities and knowledge of energy to empower people back to themselves, to feel safe, and to go into the depths of their soul to allow healing and reclamation of their personal power to transform their life into one of wellness and sovereign freedom. So I absolutely love that. Welcome to the show, Kelcey. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm so excited to be here.
I love it. Okay, so let's just dig in. I love having deep, meaty, meaningful conversations. So the first thing I would love for you to share is just tell me and the people watching, what do you do and how do you love to help people?
So I help people in a few different ways. I do offer Reiki treatments in person and energy mentoring. I love helping people with this part of wellness and healing. I really don't feel like we're taught enough about it. And in some ways it gets this rap of like woo-woo, and it is so important. We're made of energy. Everything is energy, yet we're not taught about how to work with that in our own energy fields. You know, when you like walk into a room and you don't even have to talk to someone and you're like, whoa, they are not in a good mood. And you're picking up on that energy. So to get back to your question, how do I like to help people, is just really how to tap into what they're feeling, be able to identify what's not theirs, what they've picked up, and even collectively, what happens above happens below. We're energetic beings, and really how to like go inward and be able to identify what's showing up for me right now, what's up for healing, what do I need to learn right now, and what do I need to clear to my energy field because it's not mine and I'm carrying it. Because a lot of people are empaths as well too, so you're picking up on energy from people around you wanting to maybe save them or like take on their pain, but then you're taking it on and neither one of you are actually helping the other out. So I just help people learn how to connect with themselves and their intuition and how to take care of their own energy fields.
I love that. Okay. Before I go into my next question, I always like you dropped a golden nugget here. So one of my first experiences just like with dealing with my own energy and energy field, but also like other people, was when I started to realize that when I would be around certain people, I didn't like the way I felt after, right? And I think the best way to describe it was like, I was like, I don't even understand why I feel this way, right? Like I was fine an hour ago. Why am I feeling this way? So I would love for anyone that's not really familiar with that, and maybe they've had that feeling where they're also one day they're just like, I just don't feel like myself. So like, how would you explain that to someone that's, they've maybe felt that, but they've never thought about the fact that maybe it wasn't even their own energy that they were kind of vibing on?
Totally. Yes. And so often, sometimes that's where when we haven't been putting our work in, we can really go into judgment and be like, oh, I don't like that person, or that person's so this, or that person's so that, when really, at the end of the day, mostly like we're all really good souls, but we have trauma that we're not even aware of. We're carrying hurt, we're carrying other people's energy, and we don't know how to deal with it, so it's getting projected outwards. And also, I'm sure there's been times where we've been carrying that energy and people have felt that around us, right? So it's kind of like this compassion thing too, where if we create the time to like create that self-awareness, it's like, hey, I can also not hold it against that person because I know I've been there and I wouldn't want someone to hold that against me either, right? So yes, when you're around those, that is what you said, you're totally picking up on other people's energy. But go back to, what was the question that you asked me?
Well, just how do you know? Like if it's not your own, right?
Okay.
And all of a sudden one day you're just like, I don't usually feel like this. I don't understand what's happening, right? You know, for those people that they've maybe experienced that, but never really considered it's someone else's energy they've picked up on, right?
Right. I think too, your intuition knows it's about whether or not to trust it. Like even you're like, I was fine before this. Now I'm around this person and my mood's totally changed. And that's what's so important. But like when I'm helping people with the energy mentoring, it's grounding, clearing, and really strengthening our own energy field so that when we are around those people, we're aware of it and we're not taking it on. We're protected. And it's just like, I send them light, I send them love, and I'm not taking it on. You become more aware of it.
Love that. Love it. Send them light, send them love. They can keep,
Yeah,
they can keep that feeling to themselves. Yes, that's great advice. I love it. Okay, so for someone who is maybe not familiar with Reiki, what would you say, you know, to them about the common misconceptions? And we were talking about self-love. So, you know, what are some common misconceptions that people have about self-love and Reiki that are maybe holding them back from like fully exploring the opportunity to do this kind of work for themselves?
There's so the one I want to touch on about self-love, and I've been there before too, when we're kind of in our like unhealed state and our traumas, and we're like, I'm gonna love myself. Sometimes the first things people think of is like, I'm gonna go buy myself that purse. I'm gonna go get that pedicure. I'm gonna give myself that pizza. I love myself. You know what I mean? When it's like, that's great to allow yourself to do those things sometimes, but the best thing that we could do when I say self-love is really create that connection with yourself, honor yourself, connect with your soul, because I think most people would resonate and relate to a lot of times going through periods of anxiety or depression or just not feeling well. When I say self-love, it's about connecting with yourself and listening to your soul and like, what can I do right now to honor myself? Is it cook a healthy meal? Maybe it's go for a walk, even though I've been at a place in my life where I was so depressed and overweight that the thought of putting shoes on and going for a walk outside was like, it ate me up for a day. And then what happened? It was like, you comforted yourself with all the bad things. It's just like the spiral, right? And when I really got to connect with self-love, I start in my energy field, it was like, okay, I'm going to love myself in the fact that I'm deserving of a healthy meal. I'm deserving of exercise. I'm deserving of feeling better. And I'm the only one that can change it. And I think a lot of things around energy and Reiki that could have a misconception is that sometimes it can get related into religious things, and people think that it's really, I want to tread lightly with this, but going against a belief system, when I would love them to explore and talk with somebody about it. We're made of energy. It's a part of us, and call on your God about that. It's just about grounding and clearing, and it's when you get to learn about it, it's really about like breath work. And the thing with the self-love mixed with the energy is I do love Reiki, and I think when you're in a place where you're just really struggling to show up for yourself, come lay on the bed. Let me be a support system to help move some energetic blocks. But the goal is to empower you so that every day before your feet hit the floor, you can work with your own energy field. You're not giving your power away. You're not going outside of yourself. You're going to ground, clear, and protect. And listen to your own intuition. We all got that golden compass, and we know it's there. It's guiding us we call it a gut instinct. Sometimes people are like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that. That was that intuition, but we're so scared to trust it so much of the time.
Yes, I love that. And I couldn't agree more. Right. And it's so funny because often, there's this kind of this label that's used and it's like, oh, woo, Reiki's woo, or I'm woo. If I talk about energy, I'm woo. I use it kind of jokingly, but there was a time before I became an entrepreneur where I had such a lack of familiarity with these other modalities. And now that I've opened myself and had an open mind about them and just embrace them, and I understand that there's so much science behind it. Yes, some of it is magical and beautiful and absolutely woo, but there are actually like scientific benefits to ourself and our health and our well-being when you're willing to just like release any misconceptions or faulty beliefs you may have and embrace trying these other things, when they can completely transform your experience of the journey of life, right? Like you talk about clearing energetic blocks. So
yeah, and I love that you said that there is so much scientific behind it too. When I was taking my meditation teacher training, we got to do a lot of trauma training from doctors and stuff like that. And one of the chapters was on Heart Math Institute. And one of the most fascinating things I learned was that it was actually, they've been able to scientifically prove that they can pick up your energetic field up to 5 feet outside of your body.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense in the validation part, if you will, of when you're around people, you are picking up on that stuff. So if we're not paying attention to it and we're not clearing, we're going to hold on to it. Even like our traumas and stuff, they become lodged in our body. And that all contributes to our wellness or lack thereof.
Yes, I love it. And I couldn't agree more. And so here's, you just tweaked a thing with me, because I think a lot of people right now, a lot of events are happening virtually, right? But what's been interesting for me is, so for us at Profitable Impact Academy, we do this 3-day event and it's virtual and it's done through the Zoom. And I think a lot of people think that there is an energetic disconnect, but we've actually found the opposite. What our attendees tell us is they actually feel very energetically connected to people. And so I think if you're to consider the fact that energy can move through space and time, right? Don't just assume that because all of your interactions are happening over Zoom right now, that you're not still picking up on people's energy, and that you need to take the time to ground and disconnect from that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Just like what happens in the cosmos affects us down here on Earth. Look how many people too, I don't want to give, not in the sense of giving our power away to the moon, but like, look how far away the moon is and the energetic pull it has on our ocean and how it's affected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, energy, there is no time and space.
Yes.
Both of my mentors, I only have a handful of mentors that I've had on my journey, but 2 of them that are my main ones the last few years, they are both in the United States. And when I receive my healing treatments, I'm here in Canada, they're in the States. And let me tell you, they're just as powerful.
Love it. Love it. Yes. Distance Reiki, right? I've heard of it. I haven't tried it, but I've heard of it, and that it's amazing. So, okay. So what I would love, last question, I would love for you to share, what's an obstacle you've overcome in your journey that helps you be better at what you do and how you help other people?
I would say when I am a full-time hairstylist, and when I started my journey, I did start in salon when I was 16. So I was already in that atmosphere around people all the day, or all the time, every day, physically touching, washing people's hair. And when I started with my own clientele and having the people in my chair myself, and 2 things. Besides, 1, I learned that people like to use the hairstylist as their therapist. And 2, my own human, I'm a question person. I love asking questions. I've always been told that I talk too much and I ask too many questions, but I'm curious. I want to know. I love the human experience. I love human connection. And as people opened up, most times people are opening up about heavy things, things on their mind, things that they're going through. And I would wake up every day because I was so passionate. I still am passionate about hair, but like I love tarot. I was just getting my license. I'm like, let's go. This is my calling. And by the end of the day, my hand would be on that door leaving the salon, and I would get in my car and I would cry. I would just, still emotional. Like, but you'd be not knowing why you're feeling the way you're feeling. But when people are opening up to you about their hardships at home, their loved ones dying of cancer, maybe I had some that they were dying of cancer, like, you take that on and you don't even know you're taking it on. And gratefully, and it happened, I feel like divinely guided in a really weird way. Someone had come and she was giving away her business cards. She just started a new Reiki business, and I had just started a hair salon with my girlfriend in her basement, and she was like, hey, do you want to trade business cards? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then my girlfriend that I was in business with was like, well, don't you think you should go for an appointment if you're gonna, like, so you know what it is if you're gonna hand out her business cards? And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I went to the appointment. I really wasn't that interested. I laid down. I didn't ask questions. 5 minutes in, she's doing her thing. We didn't talk. I am sobbing. And I got up and I was like, after the session, I'm like, when can I come back? And she's like, you'll know when you need to come back. And just through Reiki was like the next few years of my life. But then once I learned how to empower myself and work on my energy field every single day, because you could, like, Reiki is beneficial. I'm a very big advocate for it. But if you think about how many interactions you have with energy and other people's energy in a day, it's so important that you can not be dependent on constantly going to somebody else to heal you, save you, fix you, and you get to be that person for yourself, right? So I think the biggest thing that I learned that transformed my life was how to protect my energy, and then how to, like, also when you start working with your energy field, that awakening process of my divine self started showing up. And when I really allowed myself, and this was part of the self-love journey too, to just be like unapologetic for it and not be scared of what people thought of me. Because for a while it'd be like, man, people are gonna think I'm crazy. Or like, even sometimes it'll be like, if I have messages coming through from the other side for people around me from past loved ones, there's still times where I can hold myself back, but I'm like, you know what, I have to share it. I trust so much in it, I know. And I give that message, and the validation that they'll be like, oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, I'm so happy. I've trusted myself. But it was a lot of work to getting to that point of trusting ourselves. So yeah, that was probably one of the biggest changes for my life.
Love it.
Because I still do hair and I still take on all that energy, where now I'm not taking it on. Myself.
Love it. I love that so much. Well, and I think that will resonate with a lot of people, right? Because we have interactions with people every day that really can affect our own experience, right? And our own energy and how we're feeling. So I love that so much. Okay. So our time together is almost up. So if someone is interested in learning more about Reiki or connecting with you, what is the best way for them to find you, Kelsey?
The best way to find me would be on Instagram at iam.relatable and on Facebook at Kelcey Rae Freeman. And if you're only listening to this and you're going to spell my name, it's Kelcey.
Perfect. And we will put all the links in the show notes as well. So, you know what, Kelsey has just sparked something inside of you, and it's time for you to, listen to that intuition, that nudge, or that divine guidance like she did. Then I encourage you to reach out and connect with her through the links that you'll find in the show notes. So Kelsey, thank you so much for being our guest on this episode. I so appreciate you and your beautiful glowy energy. And your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing with us a little bit about your journey and why you're so passionate about self-love and Reiki. So, all right, everyone. Thank you. So don't stop watching. Go check out the next episode of the Your Holistic Earth podcast. I will catch you for the next one.